Last weekend's Memorial Day Motorsports Classics have taken their place in the history books, and a pair of Kentucky natives, Danny Sullivan of Louisville and Darrell Waltrip of Owensboro, are still counting their money. Meanwhile, Bill Elliott is pondering a rule change and its possible effects on his chances to be the richest racer of the year. Today on MotorWeek, we'll look back to the biggest racing weekend of 1985.
I'm Helen Casey. Today, the Belgian Grand Prix was called off. Organizers deemed the famed Spa-Francorchamps circuit unsafe. New pavement disintegrated during qualifying, causing conditions similar to driving on ice and snow. The first race in modern Grand Prix history to be called off. In America, IndyCar and stock car stars had no time to rest on any Memorial Day laurels. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 9 drivers broke the track record qualifying for tomorrow's Miller American 200. Fast qualifier Mario Andretti will share the front row with Indy 500 winner Danny Sullivan. And the NASCAR Winston Cup stars are in Riverside, California, where Darrell Waltrip will lead the field in tomorrow's Budweiser 400. Waltrip led 4 General Motors cars into the top 5 in qualifying. Bill Elliott qualified 12th.
Well, last week, our Jerry Garrett provided an accurate forecast of the 69th Indy 500. Today, he tells us the secret of Danny Sullivan's victory in the greatest spectacle in racing.
In 1974, the late Mark Donahue published a book called The Unfair Advantage. It was the creed of the Penske racing team, how they won their championships and all their races. What is the unfair advantage? Preparation, and it paid off for Penske in the Indy 500 again this year. Preparation is why Danny Sullivan did 1,700 miles of testing at Indy before the race. Preparation is why Sullivan's team won Indy's pit stop contest. And preparation is the reason Sullivan did so well in his 3rd year in this race, while another talented 3rd-year driver, Bobby Rahal, didn't even finish. But all that Penske preparation nearly went out the window when Sullivan, after working up from 8th starting spot, tried to take the lead from Mario Andretti. Sullivan describes his already famous move.
Well, I went in and tried to pass Mario, and I got past him, but I got down too low. He kind of pushed me down a little bit on the apron. Got all 4 wheels down there and then just pinched it too much and looped it, and the thing spun around. I didn't hit anything, and all of a sudden the dust smoke cleared, and I was facing turn 2, so I just put it down a gear and went on.
You feel like it was your lucky day at that point?
Well, when I got through that, and then when I got through the incident down there with Vogler and Sneva and everybody down in turn 1, when I got through there, I thought somebody's looking after me.
With 150 miles left, Sullivan repassed Andretti in the same place, and this time successfully. Sullivan then padded his lead to 9 seconds until a caution bunched the field for a 10-mile sprint to the finish. Andretti was ready to challenge, but was blocked behind Kevin Cogan and the dreaded Howdy Holmes, who had caused the Vogler-Sneva accident earlier. A frustrated Andretti, glaring over at Holmes, finally got by, but knew it was too late.
As strong as he was running, the only way I had a real shot at him perhaps was if I would have been right on his gearbox. With 2 cars in front of me, you know, it just kind of gave him pretty clear air. So, but even then, I don't know if I could have done anything about it. I was running about the same speed as he was at that point, but ran out of time.
So Sullivan carried home a 2.4-second victory margin. Only 2 other Indies in 69 runnings have been closer. Reporting from the greatest spectacle in racing, this is Jerry Garrett.
On Monday, the official order of finish was posted at Indy. Scoring errors and penalties changed 3 positions in the top 10. Johnny Parsons was credited with 5th. Johnny Rutherford finished 6th, and Arie Luyendyk, Indy Rookie of the Year, claimed 7th place. Danny Sullivan won more than $500,000 last Sunday, and Donald Davidson, the master of 500 trivia, tells us some of the other things he accomplished.
And so the 69th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race is over. For the statistically minded, Danny Sullivan, the first winner ever from the state of Kentucky. Also, the first time ever that a driver starting in 8th position has won the 500-mile race. Danny Sullivan's 1985 win came in only his 3rd start, and that's the fewest number of starts that a winner has had since Rick Mears won in his 2nd start in 1979. And there have been drivers that spun during the race and went on to finish 2nd, but nobody before Danny Sullivan had ever spun and won. From the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, this is Donald Davidson for MotorWeek Illustrated.
Well, that Indy victory was not a first for the man who built the winning engine. Our Wrangler U.S. Air Force Reserve Behind the Scenes Award goes to Carl Kienhofer for his 5th Indy winning power plant. Carl, the first employee of Penske Racing 20 years ago, gets a new outfit from Wrangler. And while Danny Sullivan was winning big money at Indy, Bill Elliott missed his first shot at a $1 million stock car bonus. The story from Charlotte Motor Speedway right after this. Memorial Day stock car racing weekend, beginning with the $200,000 to win Winston last Saturday. Then in Sunday's World 600, Bill Elliott missed out on a $1 million bonus. Elliott, winner of the Daytona and Winston 500, suffered shifter trouble Saturday and had to hold his T-Bird in gear en route to a downfield finish. Sunday, broken brake line spoiled his run for the Triple Crown Winston bonus and led to this breathtaking near miss on the Charlotte High Banks. Elliott gets one last shot at the Winston Million Labor Day weekend in Darlington, South Carolina. With Elliott out of the picture, Darrell Waltrip broke out of a season-long losing streak. Benny Phillips reports first on the Winston.
Darrell Waltrip took an early lead in the race, but dropped off the pace when he felt his car getting loose. When he pitted, the Junior Johnson crew tightened the chassis, but soon discovered the reason Waltrip was loose was because the right rear tire was going flat. By tightening the chassis, however, it made Waltrip's car handle better in the late stages of the event when he was chasing down Harry Gant. Gant was strong until he made his pit stop, but Gant's tires went away during the late part of the race, and he could not hold off Waltrip's bid for victory. After the race, speculation ran high in the garage area that Waltrip purposely revved his engine and blew it after taking the checkered flag, so that the engine could not be checked by NASCAR inspectors.
Well, Waltrip's win was followed by confusion. In an interview with our man Phillips, owner Junior Johnson claimed NASCAR told him Saturday night that Darrell could run the same car in Sunday's World 600, but on race morning they changed their minds.
The car we run in the Winston race I thought was a better race car, and that's the reason I ran it in the Winston race. And this morning at 8 o'clock I found out we couldn't run the car, so we had this car tore completely apart because we thought we was going to run another car. We had to go back and put it back together, and I'll have to admit, when they dropped the flag, I didn't know if it'd fall apart or stay together or run or what it would do.
What the car did do was turn in a repeat performance of the day before, as Waltrip found himself battling Harry Gant once again. And crew chief Jeff Hammond felt that the pre-race hassle over which car to run may have been a blessing in disguise.
I guess it kind of done us a favor. It kind of made us mad, I guess. And everybody went out with the idea today that we were going to take this car right here and prove to everybody that no matter what car we had on the racetrack today, that we were the number one team to beat.
Waltrip gambled and beat the odds. He ran 73 laps after his final pit stop and was out of gas when he dashed under the checkered flag. Gant was leading the race, but had to pit 10 laps from the finish for fuel. At this point, Waltrip took the lead. Dale Earnhardt was 3 seconds back of Waltrip and ran out of gas with only 2 laps to go. Earnhardt's misfortune moved Gant to second place. Bobby Allison finished third for the second time this season, and Terry Labonte's 5th place finish put him back on top in the Grand National standings, 19 points in front of Bill Elliott. From Charlotte Motor Speedway, for MotorWeek Illustrated, I'm Benny Phillips.
And NASCAR announced at Charlotte it will change the rules and require smaller carburetors, beginning with the July 4th Firecracker 400. Speed records falling at all the big tracks this year. That prompted NASCAR President Bill France to slow the cars.
The name of the game for the crews is to try and do all they can to run faster, and our job is to try and keep it as competitive as we can out there. It won't be long before they'll have them back up there again, and we'll do something else.
Well, Bill Elliott's Thunderbird has set more speed records and won more races than anyone else this year, and more than a few Ford fans think the rule change is aimed squarely at car number 9. Crew Chief Ernie Elliott told our Benny Phillips he thinks so too.
Well, I gotta feel like it was. I guess I feel bad about any rule change, Benny, because I just think things ought to go on. They ought to just pretty much leave things alone.
Well, Elliott's car owner, Harry Melling, said Sunday he'd sue NASCAR if they don't leave things alone until after Bill takes his final shot at that $1 million bonus. But by Tuesday, Melling said that he didn't want to be on NASCAR's bad list. He says he'll wait and see if his Ford really is affected more than the competition by the small carb rule. Well, one final bit of Charlotte action. Here's Bosco Lowe losing it in Saturday's Sportsman race. No problem. Bosco gets her down on the grass. Plenty of time to get slowed down and no harm done, right? Wrong. Bosco refuses to quit when he's ahead. He drives right back up into the path of an unsuspecting Robert Ingram, and boom. The impact gets to Bosco's fuel supply, and his car explodes in flames. Nobody hurt, but Lowe was one lucky boy. He was able to climb out of that car under his own power, and it's a darn good thing, too, because it took the safety crews 1 minute and 4 seconds to arrive on the scene. Now, speaking of crashes, this is a sample of the action at the Coors Tour Memorial Day 100 at Thunder Road in Vermont. And speaking of carburetors, number 71 Bobby Dragon ran one that was a tad illegal to come from last on the grid to win. Dragon was disqualified. And not all the fender banging last weekend was on the stock car ovals. We'll go road racing right after this. GT Series enjoyed a heartwarming Memorial Day at Lime Rock, Connecticut. Jim Roller reports on the surprise winner of the holiday weekend.
When Al Hobart came to Lime Rock, Connecticut, many people thought he wasn't going to have much competition. But Drake Olson and Rob Dyson in the Porsche number 16 proved otherwise. In fact, a blown turbo left Hobart and also ran, while the number 16 Porsche stole the show. A mid-race decision by car owner Dyson left Olson squarely in the spotlight, running solo.
Well, Drake said he was feeling all right, and the car obviously is running well, so we just decided to stay with the combination we got that's working. You know, the idea is to win the race, not necessarily to get the car owner in the car, and that's the way we're planning to do it the whole season.
That decision paid off when Olson wrestled the lead from Brian Redmond to the delight of his new team. But a rapid chain of events in the race's final 15 minutes determined the outcome. First, Olson lost the lead with this off-course excursion, which also involved Redmond as the Jaguar retook the top spot. Then Redmond came to the pits with a windshield rendered useless by a coating of oil. That gave Olson the lead back, but he had one more hurdle to cross: Mother Nature. A torrential downpour in the race's final 10 minutes caught the competitors on slick tires. Undaunted, Olson hydroplaned to a 58-second victory. Olson's first major win gave the new team a victory in its IMSA debut. For MotorWeek Illustrated, this is Jim Roller.
Now let's go to the SCCA Playboy Endurance Series. Number 98 Corvette, Don Knowles, Tony Swan, and John Heinrichsey led for 8 of 12 hours. But 2 late pit stops handed the win to the sister car, number 97, Jim Cook, Ron Grable, and Bobby Carradine. The victory margin after 12 hours was 6 seconds.
Road racing also enjoys the historical spotlight this weekend. Valvoline presents this page from Ken Squire's scrapbook.
Hello, everybody. Here's still another page from my great moments in motorsports. October 8th, 1961, Watkins Glen, New York. For 13 years, this little resort village on the shores of Seneca Lake has grown synonymous with motorsports. In 1948, it was the site of a renaissance in American road racing, combining town streets and country roads. In '56, to accommodate the crowds, a new 2.6-mile closed course was built. After attempts at hosting Formula One failed at Sebring, Florida and Riverside, California, the U.S. Grand Prix moved to Watkins Glen. For 1961 winner Innes Ireland, it marked his only Formula One victory. In defeating Dan Gurney, Ireland drove his Lotus Climax to racing history. The first Grand Prix winner at the track to be known around the world as the Glen. I'm Ken Squire. Join me next week for another great motorsports memory.
And from a great moment in Formula One history, we go to the biggest success story in this year's Grand Prix season. Once again, Jim Roller with the story of Team Lotus on this week's edition of the Beatrice Formula One Report.
With 2 race wins and 2 of the top 5 spots in the World Championship, Team Lotus is living up to the great tradition established by its founder, the late Colin Chapman, whose legend lives on.
He was irreplaceable, and he had his own particular way of going motor racing. He was an engineer of intuition and flair and inventiveness, and of course he had the very special talent, and you can't find one of those again. So we have a different character. Gérard Ducarouge, our new technical director, is a more methodical, more consistent, more systematic engineer. And we go racing a different way, but I'm not sure that it's any less effective.
The engineering look is different, but the current drivers are typically Lotus, fast and consistent. Veteran Elio De Angelis was tabbed by Chapman himself for future greatness, and the latest find, Ayrton Senna, is right from the Chapman mold.
I'm sure that the performances that he's had in the season so far have confirmed what everybody suspected they knew anyway, which is that he's a very, very special guy. And I think one of them comes along every 5 years or so in motor racing, and I'm very happy that he's with us. I think Elio's great tribute is that in addition to being very talented and very fast, he's very consistent, and he's got a marvelous finishing record. And I have to say, of course, that at this moment in time, he's leading the World Championship, which can't be bad either.
And we'll check the bike racing results when Motor Week continues. In Italy last weekend, former MotorWeek Racer of the Year Freddie Spencer became the first motorcycle road racer in 9 years to win 250 and 500cc Grands Prix in the same weekend. This is the 500cc race in which the 23-year-old former world champ Spencer in his Honda No. 4 took the lead on the second lap and were never headed. As usual, Spencer's only challenger was No. 1, the reigning world champ Eddie Lawson on a Yamaha. There you see the interval. Eddie couldn't keep Freddie in sight. Sunday, Spencer had 10 seconds as he wheelied to the finish. Fast Freddie leads that series, and 15 minutes after that race, he jumped on his 250, won again, and took the lead in that series as well. Meanwhile, 3 classes of U.S. national motocross action last weekend, highlighted by a great 500cc battle between rider No. 1 David Bailey, the class champ, and Brock Glover, who dogged David all the way to the checkered flag. Here's the margin at the finish. Bailey the winner. 125 class, the favorite goes on his nose in turn 1. That spoiled Ron Lacheyne's day and opened the door for Eric Kehoe, who won the class. 250 honors to defending national champ Jeff Ward. Finally, the start of a 130-mile-an-hour Camel Pro Series dirt track traffic jam last Sunday, Springfield, Illinois. 20 laps later, things didn't look a whole lot different for the 4 Hondas and 1 Harley in the top 5. With 5 laps to go, No. 12 Ted Booty took the lead, trying for his second straight win here. But in this 32nd running of the Springfield Stroh Mile, you could go from 1st to 4th in a hurry. Ricky Graham, Bubba Schobert, Scott Parker all put the draft pass on Booty. No. 11 Parker rode the wheels off his Harley, but No. 67 Schobert and No. 1 Graham on the factory Hondas and Booty on the privateer Honda had more steam. Schobert led it off the final turn. Booty slipped under Parker, tried to grab Bubba's draft. Graham had missed the white flag and didn't make the last lap move he had planned. 4 riders hit the stripe in the space of 2 bike lengths, but Bubba Schobert, still the best last lap man in the business. 3 straight mile wins. He leads the Camel Pro and the Stroh Cup standings.
Now to the Memorial Day Cajun National Drag Races. Bob Varsha reports.
Sunday's Cajun Nationals Pro Stock Final had a familiar look. For the 5th time in the last 10 NHRA wars, Warren Johnson's Olds Calais in the near lane faced Bob Glidden's White Thunderbird. It was Glidden off the line first, but it was Johnson getting there first at 7.61 seconds and more than 178 miles per hour. Johnson has now beaten his arch rival in 4 of those 5 meetings. The funny car final pitted Kenny Bernstein, looking for his 3rd straight win in the heavily sponsored Ford Tempo, against surprise finalist Jim Head in his independently financed Olds Forenza. This rich man versus poor man rematch of last fall's U.S. Nationals final had the same result: lost traction for Bernstein and victory for Head at better than 6 seconds and 248 miles per hour. But the wildest final of all was Top Fuel, pitting 50-year-old Billy Mullins in the far lane against 53-year-old Big Daddy Don Garlitz. After elimination wins over Connie Coletta and reigning world champ Joe Amato, Garlitz battled Mullins to the wire, where the timers failed, leaving everyone in the dark. A look at the videotape showed Big Daddy had cleanly won his 4th title in 6 races since coming out of retirement last fall, his 25th in a string going back to 1963. For MotorWeek Illustrated, this is Bob Varsha reporting.
My man, Big Daddy. Now, let's name our champion spark plug Racer of the Week. This is why Danny Sullivan drives for Roger Penske. Not because he does things like this, but because he's willing to try them. Penske says Sullivan will do, or at least try to do, whatever it takes to win.
Well, he's a super guy, and I'll tell you, I wouldn't have signed him up a year ago before Indy or even after Indy, but he beat us fair and square 3 times last year, and you got to look at that.
Well, the entire racing world was looking at Danny Sunday as he scored his memorable Indy 500 win. He's $500,000 richer, and he's also in the running for a new Honda Nighthawk motorcycle that goes to our Racer of the Year. Danny Sullivan, take a bow, champion Racer of the Week. And finally, New York's Tavern on the Green restaurant is a favorite racer hangout, and Sullivan used to be a waiter there. We asked him if his pre-racing career in food service included any embarrassing moments.
Well, I don't know embarrassing, but I was having some problems with a couple of customers, and particularly one lady who wanted her food done in a certain way, and we did it in a certain way, and she kept complaining that it wasn't right, so I brought it back to her one time to show her that it was right and just held the dish up to show her and kind of tilted a little bit, and as the gravy ran down the dish, it shot right down her cleavage, and she got quite a shock out of that, but I didn't really care.
And with that, we're out of time. I'm Dave Despain. Stock cars at Riverside tomorrow, Indy cars at Milwaukee, Grand Prix machines at Belgium. All the highlights next Saturday.
And I'm Helen.